Hey everyone, I know I said I would not be back, but I am back. Alright, let's not waste any time. You lose like half your audience in the first 30 seconds, so let's go. I was just thinking about this thing that happened last night um, with this conversation that I had with a guy at a bar, and it had me thinking, and I felt like saying something about it. Basically, I was meeting an old coworker for drinks, and we were having a good catch up and a great night, and everything was fine. And then this guy took some opportunity to come in and I guess join or more like hijack our conversation um, to talk about what he thought was important, um, which was a lot of like dystopian future kind of shit. Um, like, okay, so context. Last night, my university's basketball team won the their game in the Elite Eight, which sends them to the Final Four, which is like a big deal in college sports. And it's the second year in a row that we've done it, and maybe only like the third time we've ever done it. So basically, people were going crazy celebrating, and it was a great vibe, and the whole night was a lot of fun. Like people out on the streets, bars were packed, um, and yeah. So this guy, though, wasn't too interested in that. He wanted to talk about the waning fresh water supply in California and how we're not going to have crops to feed people in several years, and this and that and the other thing. Talking about how the government controls our media and what we see, and how they try to distract us from the real issues by putting sports games on TV. He was not a fan of what was going on around him, and he had to let us know. Um, but I have no problem with drawing attention to the issues that pose threats to humanity. Maybe that things that we need to work together to come and to overcome, to find solutions for. The problem was he had all the problems and he didn't have any solutions. He talked for maybe 10, 15 minutes, and I didn't. There was nothing. There was no solution as far as he chose to share with us. He thought that he was doing his public good by letting us know all these things that honestly we had already known about. Like you don't. It's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I know there are these problems, but frankly, right now, it's a Saturday night, and it's a very unique Saturday night. It's a unique experience that I'm not gonna get very often. It's not often that your university's team, you know, gets really far in the tournament, and everybody around you goes crazy, and everyone's just having a good time. It's a downer to bring it up in those moments, and I think that it was funny how what he was talking about tied so perfectly into what I was talking to my coworker, or my ex coworker, like we broke up. Um, what I was talking to my ex coworker about um, before that was like I was questioning, like, what is the value of truth if in the pursuit of truth you lose all sight of happiness? Like, what's the point of being constantly aware of all the problems in the world if then you're going to live a life without joy? And, this is casting a blanket over this guy. He very well, I would assume, has happy moments in his life, because and I believe that's true of everyone. That's how the brain works. I mean, we wouldn't keep living unless we knew that there was happiness at some point. But the more, I think, the more that you focus on the negatives, that you create a positive feedback loop where you're just bringing those thoughts up again and again, and you're diminishing the happiness. And maybe when you do feel happiness, you become more prone to to make yourself feel like you should be ashamed of that happiness. There's the whole there are people starving in this country, that country, take your pick. Uh, you should that you shouldn't feel, I don't know, that you should like there are two different ways to interpret that fact. That truth, that there are people who have it worse off than you. You can either say, so you should feel lucky for what you have, which also has a tinge of negativity about it, but there's that, or there's uh, you don't, you should, it's just this inherent thing that you should feel guilty that that you were just given this at birth. You were born in a country where you have running water and stuff like that, which of course, we're in danger of losing. And, that's probably true. That's what everybody says. But the thing is, what I'm saying is, if we spend all of our time leading up to it just running around going, wow, we're losing water, and that's it. Uh, what's when are we going to find a solution if we're just saying how horrible it is, and unless we cherish the the happy moments that we have. I think that I think that a lot of people lose sight of the value of that, especially if not all the time, because absolutes, I don't like them, but like obviously you'll have moments where you're happy and you think, yes, this is worth it. But when you're talking about issues, I think that you need to have positivity in there. You need to be like, this is how we work to fix it, rather than this is what's terrible. All of this is bad. Blah blah blah. Like you should pay more attention. Like that's not making friends. I don't want to be that guy's friend, because that was basically what he was doing. He was saying, you should pay more attention to this stuff. You shouldn't be focused on this. Your basketball teams win. But I mean, it's like, come on, man. It's a Saturday night. My team just won. I'm meeting up with an old friend. Like, I'm gonna be ignorant of those facts for a little bit. Like, I'm gonna have some alcohol, and we're gonna laugh. And we weren't, the thing is that we weren't having conversations that were just like, oh yeah, I'm so happy my team won. This guy made these assumptions about who we were, that he needed to be the guy to come in and tell us you should pay attention to the shitty stuff. And meanwhile, me and my friend were having these conversations of like, man, you really got to be thankful for what you've got, because life is good and bad, and if you can maximize the good, then life is going to be better. You're gonna naturally make life better for those around you and yourself, because you're focusing on positive things, because you're going to prolong those positive things, and slowly the negative things are going to diminish. But if you sit around and feel sorry for yourself that the government is forcing all these negative things on you, I mean, you're going to be sitting alone in a bar trying to talk to people about how shitty the world is, and they're gonna walk away from you eventually once they get an excuse, which is exactly what we did. That's what I was getting around to, maybe. It's just yeah, I I have admiration for people who are activists in that way, and I think there's a value of the far end of the spectrum in terms of like political uh, motivations and things. Like there are people who are those doomsday sayers, and I think when those voices get heard, yes, it can help to push us as a whole in the right direction of positive change, but it's only it's a very small step to incite fear in people. You what's really important, I think, is the person who comes in and says, look at this solution, let's do this. Like, let's not focus on pointing out the problems. Let's focus on finding the solutions. That's what I say. And I think that your life is going to be happier for it. I think you should allow yourself to be ignorant, to ignore negative things every now and then when your brain just isn't, when your brain wants to be happy, you should let it be happy. Um, and you should know, I mean, obviously, you're not always going to be happy, but you're not always going to be sad either. So when you're happy, accept that sadness is around the corner, but know that once sadness has come, happiness is on the other side of the block, you know? And as long as we keep going forward, I think both good and bad things are in store. So let's just keep living and see what happens. That's my 2 cents on what happened to me recently, and it doesn't really have anything to do with MBTI. And I would like to make some videos focusing maybe more related to that. I'm not sure. I've had a couple thoughts milling about, so you might see another video or two. I'm not sure if these things are what if you're subscribed to me, I'm not sure if this is what you subscribed to me for. So, you know, sorry if it's not. But yeah, keep an eye out if you're interested at all in the thoughts that I have, because I have some of them. And you should do something similar if you have thoughts. You should share your thoughts. There. Are you listening, INFPs? Share your thoughts, because they're important, and people listen sometimes when you talk. Okay, I'm done.